27th on this Thanksgiving Eve. As everybody gets ready for the end of the week. It's like a Friday today. It'll be like a football Friday on the Fan today at 3 o'clock as we get you ready for the long Thanksgiving holiday that will obviously begin this evening. A lot of kids coming back from college for the first time, a lot of traffic everywhere. So the holiday season, which is late because Thanksgiving is late, begins in earnest really with tomorrow's Thanksgiving holiday and all the parades and everything else. So we'll be right into the holiday season. The big buzz, of course, today, Duke's stunning loss last night at home, losing to a non-conference team on their home floor for the first time since 2000. 150 games. The last team to have beaten the Blue Devils there at Cameron Indoor was St. John's. They had not lost to a non-conference opponent in 150 games. They lose last night in overtime to Stephen F. Austin. Stephen F. Austin's a solid program. Not coming off a very good year, but a solid program that has, had its moments in the NCAA tournament. And these November defeats by to unknown teams, which we've seen happen to Kentucky already, which we've now seen happen to Duke, are going to become more regular in November for the reason that is the way the college is built right now. The top teams that reload every year, that reload by sending one-and-done players to the pros, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Duke. Michigan State lost already as the number one team, but they lost to Kentucky, so that's okay. The other two lost. First time we've had three teams lose in November as number ones. But the point is that these teams, although they're at the top of the polls, are really rebuilding. They're bringing in freshmen who are playing immediately. They don't have upperclassmen. They don't have veteran teams. So you have top programs really in name only at that point because they're breaking in new kids. They're experimenting in December, which these top teams can do. And let's be honest, other than creating an enormous headline across the sports world, that mighty Duke got beat by a 29-point underdog on its home floor, which, of course, is highly irregular. It hasn't happened in 150 games. But it makes sense. Last night, how did they get beat? They get beat by a team that doesn't beat them with threes. They get beat by a team that beats them in the paint, scores more points on them in the paint than any team has in the last 10 years. Also, Duke turns the ball over 22 times and misses a million foul shots. Absolutely shoots atrociously. They outscore. They always outshoot their opponents on the foul line. It's been forever a Coach K, as it was a Bob Knight, plan for his team, a goal to always make more free throws than the opponent shoots. Make more than the opponent shoot. They did that last night, as they usually do, or do a lot. Stephen F. Austin shot 17 free throws for the game. Duke made 24. The problem is they shot 40. They were 11 for 24 from the foul line in the second half. They shot 60% from the foul line in the game, and they turned the ball over 22 times. Stephen F. Austin had 13 steals, also had veterans on the floor. So add all that up, and you have an 85-83 overtime loss that has everybody stunned with big headlines today. But you know what? You know what it means? It means a lot for Stephen F. Austin. Lets them have their moment in the sun. The winning basket was scored by a young man who his family had their house wiped out in the hurricane in the Bahamas. So he's had a lot of tragedy this year. Now he has his moment in the sun. Good for him. But for Duke or Kentucky, teams like that, it means nothing. It won't hurt them. By the end of the season, they'll be right back playing for number one seeds. They'll be seeded number one or number two in the NCAA tournament, and they'll have very real chances to go to the Final Four because that's their talent. But in November, they are vulnerable, and they are young, and their head coaches are experimenting, and that's why they have games like they did last night. So these games in the years to come, in this era of one and done, especially at the top of the polls for the likes of Duke and Kentucky, which seem to play that game now more than anybody. Coach K has adapted it, and John Calipari really patented it. he really was the guy who put it on the map. And now Duke has adopted it as a way of doing business. Those teams will be very vulnerable in November, but they will be championship caliber come March. As we said, it's a Football Friday on this Thanksgiving Wednesday. We'll go through all the games. Obviously, 3 big games tomorrow. Detroit and Dallas hosting as always on Thanksgiving. The third game will be the Saints taking on Atlanta. Just a couple of weeks ago, Atlanta beat the Saints in New Orleans. Now they'll see them in Atlanta tomorrow night off the short week. A rivalry game there. So putting division games there, especially in that late third game, makes sense because you got a better chance to get a good game from a division game than you do from a non-division game. So it makes sense for the NFL since they have ended that random third game on Thanksgiving. So short week for most folks. We will see you with a big show at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Enjoy your Wednesday. Drive carefully. Be patient. Be a lot of traffic out there. And we'll see you at 3 o'clock.